This is Still a Part of Us, a podcast where moms and dads share their story of their child who was stillborn or who died in infancy. I'm Winter Red, and in this episode of Advice and Encouragement from a Lost Mom, I chat with Sydney, whose daughter Charley was stillborn at 37 weeks. By the way, you can hear Sydney's and her husband Jackson's episodes about the birth of their child, Charley, on episodes 33 and 35. Today we discuss with Sydney how even though the loss of Charley is still so fresh, others have moved on and that's hard for them. Having time afterward away from home was helpful to her and her husband to be able to mourn and feel their sadness, and how grateful Sydney was for a friend who asked Sydney how much or how little she wanted to talk about Charley and that she would be there to listen to her. As a word of caution to our listeners, this discussion contains emotional triggers of stillbirth and infant loss. Please keep yourself emotionally and mentally healthy and seek help if needed. Hope this helps someone out there today. Okay, Sydney, thank you again so much for being here today. I have greatly enjoyed just chatting with you, chatting with your husband, and I am excited to hear how things have been the last few months for you. For a little bit of context, how long ago was Charley born?
It's been 8.5 months.
Okay. And at the time this episode comes out, it'd actually probably be a year. I think that's the way we've got it scheduled.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, I know. And what has that process looked like for you? How have the last 8.5 months looked like for you?
So first off, it does not feel like it's been 8.5 months. I was telling you earlier, it feels more like 8 weeks.
Yeah.
It's so weird, like the concept of time when you're in grief, it's like time doesn't really exist. Like it's just going. And I couldn't believe when summer was here, and then when summer was leaving, it was fall, and now it's like the middle of winter. So time is just like going so fast. I think like with that, it's like important for me to get out there. Like it's still really fresh for us.
Oh yeah.
And like
for sure.
Yeah, but like it's not fresh for other people, right? Like the shock and like the disbelief has worn off for most other people.
Yeah.
And so people tend to not talk about it, and they tend to not be as sensitive, like, which is fine. It's just, it's still really fresh and difficult for us.
For you.
Yeah.
When you say that people are not as sensitive to it, do they, what do you mean by that?
Just like, I don't know. I feel like it's really hard to hear people talk about their babies and like, I don't know, like birth stories. And it's really hard to hear about things like that because that's like everything that we wanted with Charley, you know, and what we expected with Charley. And it's just, it's still hard to hear about it, even though it's been 8.5 months.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't want people to have to tiptoe around us either, though.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually don't even say anything. I just shrug it off.
Yeah. Sometimes you do have to do that because, everybody else moves on.
Mm-hmm.
But we are not moving on.
Nope.
Yeah.
Don't expect that.
Yeah. So what have you done to help cope? How have you mourned? How have you grieved? How have you celebrated Charley in this time?
So I talked about how I had quit my job right before Charley was born. And in the moment I was like, oh my gosh, like this is a disaster. Like what am I going to do now when Charley's not here and I'm just home without a job? Yeah. But it was actually those few months of not working were very, very helpful for me to process and cope. I literally just spent every day looking at pictures and like thinking about what happened and writing things down, you know, and just thinking about her and crying almost every single day. Yeah. And I felt like that was really, really helpful for me to cope.
To have that actual time to do it.
Yeah. We also really enjoy spending time at the cemetery. Yeah. That's really special for us. We just, I don't know, it's nice for us to be there. Mm-hmm. That's one way we think about her and remember her. And we've been decorating her grave. Like we decorated it for Christmas and for fall. So that's fun.
That's kind of a way to take care of her, right?
Yeah.
Sweet. And if you haven't heard Sydney's story of Charley's birth, just a little bit of context. Also, she lives currently in Logan, Utah, and Charley is buried in Springville, which is about 2.5, 3. Oh, well, it's probably 3 hours away.
It's like 2 and 10 minutes.
2 and 10 minutes. Oh, okay.
Depending on how fast you drive.
Right. So that's a bit of a time commitment too, to be there often. Mm-hmm. So did you guys hang out down here in Springville for a bit, or were you back and forth?
Yeah. No, we stayed in Springville. Jackson took, was it a week off work or a week and a half or something?
Yeah.
And I wasn't working, so we just stayed. We didn't want to go home yet. Yeah. Go back to our past reality.
Yeah.
And like see the nursery and everything. So we ended up, I think we stayed in Springville for 2 weeks after Charley was born, which was funny because we like had originally planned to be there for like 2 days, and so we didn't have very many clothes.
Right.
But Jackson's mom went to Logan and got some things for us. So
that's great. So that sounds like that time was actually helpful for you to not be home quite yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I honestly don't think we would have eaten food if we were home because like food didn't sound good.
Yeah.
But my mom made us food. And then we went to Jackson's parents' house in Kaysville, Utah. That's like halfway between Springville and Logan. And they made us food. So
that's always helpful because you just don't, that's so far from your mind. Yeah. At least for me. So
food doesn't matter.
No. Yeah. It doesn't. It really doesn't. How have you tried to heal? I know that it's still very raw for you. It's still very new. How have you tried to heal though through this, the last few months? Do anything special? Like, did you have any special tokens or objects or anything like that that you want to use physically to remember her? Or tell me about those.
So I have a lot of necklaces.
Do you?
Yeah. The one I'm wearing right now, it's a locket that my grandma gave me on Mother's Day, the week before Charley passed away. And she actually gave me 2. She gave me the one that I'm wearing, which was her mom's. And then she gave me another little one that was hers when she was little for Charley.
Oh.
So I wear this one, and it has a picture of her, and it has a lock of her hair in it too.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. And then I have some necklaces that have her name on it and her birthstone. So I'm always wearing a necklace. And that's like that's something that I like to have on me just because I feel like I'm remembering her in that way.
Yeah.
So
you're carrying a piece of her with her. You. That's great. And have you done anything with counseling or grief support groups or anything like that to help you feel like there's others out there, I guess?
Well, I was going to. Jackson was going to go with me to a support group. I kind of had to like bribe him into it because I always felt like it would be helpful. And I've been to support groups too before for other things. So I know that they're helpful.
Yeah.
But the night came when we were supposed to go and I had forgotten about it and Jackson remembered. And so when he came home from work, he was like, "So are we going?" And I was like,
"Oh yeah."
I was like, "Nah." So we haven't been. It would probably still be helpful for us just because, just to connect with other people. But we also have people in our lives already that we can talk to, like our friends that had a stillborn baby last December. We've talked to them a few times and we connect with them. And I know somebody else that I went to high school with. And so, I mean, we have people to talk to about it.
I think that's the key, right? It's just being able to talk to others that understand.
Yeah, I think it would still be useful to go to a support group. It's just finding the time now is a lot harder than it was a few months ago.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and sometimes they're not the most convenient times, but yeah, I think it's worthwhile to do that. So tell me, what is something that you wouldn't say or shouldn't say to somebody that has experienced the type of loss that you have? And ask you not to call anybody out, but if there's anything that you would recommend people not say if they have a loved one, a friend or anything like that is going through a stillbirth.
I would definitely not say to somebody, you're young, you'll have more. That's painful to hear because it's like, yeah, but we're not going to have Charley.
Yeah.
Like Charley's gone. She's here and gone. And that's what's so painful about it is because Charley's gone.
Yeah.
And that's, we've heard that more than a couple times. And people don't mean it in a bad way.
No.
You know, it's coming from a place of love. It's just, if you really think about the words, if they really thought about the words, I don't think they would have like said that, you know?
Yeah.
But that's something I wouldn't say. And then the other thing is just, it's hard to hear people complain about their pregnancies and their babies, which doesn't happen very often.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. But yeah, that's something else that's hard because it's like, well, at least you have one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, exactly. I was like, amen on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tricky. Let me ask this question. Is there something that you would say to somebody or somebody said something to you that really helped you throughout this process?
Really just people always ask you how you're doing, you know, when it right after it happens, and it's so hard. Like me and Jackson hated hearing that for the first little while. But now that it's been more time, like if people are asking us how we are doing, specifically wanting to know about how are we doing like with our grief and things like that means a lot. And it doesn't happen very often anymore because it's been so long.
So long, you know? 8 months, 8.5 months.
Well,
I know,
yeah, it's
but
just like people think, and we seem like we're doing okay, and we are doing a lot better than we were, but it means a lot when people are thinking about us in that way and want to hear about how we're actually doing.
Yeah.
So I have, and just like people giving us the opportunity to talk about Charley, that helps us feel like other people are remembering her too and missing her, you know, and we're able to make her part of the conversation, and that's really special too for us. I have a friend that I hadn't seen since Charley passed away, and I saw her at we're working at the same place now, and the first time she saw me, like, she got emotional and she said, "I'm so sorry, like, I don't even know, like, how I would be in that situation," because she had a baby in May, so our babies would have been like the same age. And she said, I always think about you, like, when I feel like things are hard, and she's like, I just can't imagine, like, what it's been like for you. So, and then we talked later about it, and she said, I want you to feel like you don't have to talk about it, but if you want to talk about it, she's like, I would love to listen. And she, like, specifically asked me, like, how is it for me to talk about it? Like, is it helpful or is it not helpful? And that meant so much to me because I felt like I didn't have to be restrained, you know, and we had a lot of really, really, like, deep conversations, and I've talked to her, like, we weren't super close before that, but I've talked to her probably more about it more than, like, even some of my closest friends.
Really?
Yeah. So, and we're closer friends than we've known each other for a long time, but I don't know, that just, I feel like really made me feel comfortable in talking about Charley, and she was comfortable hearing about it too.
Yeah.
So,
you know, you bring up something that's interesting because it sounds like she almost had an open door policy, like, let's talk about her if you want to. And then she also asked, like, what are your terms of talking to her? Because some people are not comfortable talking about their kids. It makes them uncomfortable and makes them sad, and they don't want to talk about their children. So that's really cool. I think that was really cool that your friend did that, and that she was willing to come to you on your terms of what you were able to do and what you wanted to do regarding. That's a good friend right there.
Yeah, I think very highly of her.
That's really cool. Because I would recommend that too. I'm blessed to have a couple of people that have done that to us as well. And that's been nice to always be free, like you said, to talk.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like it's natural to want to just make people feel better, and like make them laugh. But sometimes you just need to cry and talk about it,
Yeah.
So to have that opportunity with people it's rare, but it's really, really helpful.
What a gift. That's a gift. That is very interesting about kind of what you've alluded to about just basically feelings, that you don't have to make it better because you're going to have to feel the feelings. You're going to have to feel all the feelings, right? We don't want to suppress them because you have to feel them, I think.
You do. They're coming one way or another.
They are.
You gotta feel them sometimes.
Exactly. And sometimes, it could blow up in your face if you try and repress them. Jackson sounds like he's been super supportive throughout all of this. How has he handled Charley's loss, like your loss, and what do you guys do to help support each other through this?
It's kind of, I feel like we have been on the same page a lot of the time, like with our grief, which I feel like is you hear about like people grieving. I mean, everybody grieves differently. And I think me and Jackson grieve differently too. But I think when one of us would get sad, it would trigger the other person and we'd just both be sad together.
Sometimes that's nice to do that and be sad together.
I don't know. Jackson, it's been really hard on him, and it still is, but I'm always impressed because even like when I'm having a hard time and he's having a hard time, he's trying to comfort me and make me feel better.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
I can't imagine like going through something like this without him. I don't think it would be possible. But
that's great. Have you had any realizations about grief and life, I guess, and death, or any aha moments?
Well, I guess really just like about how our family members are still with us, even though we can't see them. That is probably the biggest thing, but also just like with grief in general, like there's no timeline, and like when you're grieving something so deeply, like when you lose a child, like things don't matter.
Yeah.
Like it was summertime and we were supposed to like do fun things, during summer, but a lot of times we just stayed home and we didn't do anything, and we were perfectly okay with that. Like we didn't feel like doing anything fun, and I don't know, you realize what's really important in life, and I don't know, it just kind of, it's like a wake up call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
So have a lot of things kind of fallen off your radar, like, I don't need to do this anymore, or?
Like school. I'm like, yeah, school doesn't really matter to me anymore. It used to matter, but now I'm just doing it because I have to.
Yeah. Well, you're doing it. That's good. Yeah. That's good.
Really, like, the thing that's important to me is my family.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you end up kind of holding him a little bit closer, and
yeah,
they kind of come to the forefront, huh?
Yeah.
I know that it's been 8.5 months, and when the time of this recording comes out, it's going to be Charley's birthday month. Do you guys have any thoughts on what you guys are going to do to celebrate her birthday? And maybe I'll throw that in there. I don't know when Mother's Day is this year, but that's probably right before her birthday. So
I'm not looking forward to Mother's Day.
No, not at all.
No. But I am looking forward to celebrating her birthday. I want to do something like with our families.
Yeah.
And something that we have chosen to symbolize Charley is butterflies, which I didn't even know that people use this butterfly to symbolize their loved ones that have passed on.
I didn't know that either.
I didn't either. But when we were picking our headstone out, I felt like we should do butterflies. It's like, I don't want to do flowers. I want to do butterflies.
Yeah.
I feel like that's Charley. And Charley, she sends us butterflies all the time, like even in November.
What?
I don't know. It's just been really sweet to have those. And so like as a symbol of her.
Mm-hmm.
And also when I Googled like the symbolism of the butterfly, I was like, why is this like such a symbol for people? Mm-hmm. It said the butterfly symbolizes resurrection and new life. So then it was just even more perfect. So
yeah, that's amazing. Like, yes. I did not know that. That's so great.
So I want to do a butterfly release.
Oh, wonderful.
At the cemetery or I don't know where. Yeah. But I would like to do that with our family.
That is
I think
great.
that would be really special.
I think that'd be beautiful.
Yeah.
Yay. I know that's going to be, you always kind of dread about like the birthday. You're like, how am I going to celebrate? Because I want to celebrate, but it's like, yeah.
It's a lot harder when she's not here.
Yeah, exactly. How can I honor her and celebrate her?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely still open to ideas because that's pretty much all I've got on the table right now.
I think that's awesome. I think that's going to be beautiful. That's awesome. So you did get a headstone, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. So you did, when did you guys get that put in?
We designed the headstone 2 weeks or a week after. Okay, it was a Tuesday. I think it was the Tuesday after her graveside service. Okay. So we ordered it and designed it, and then it was in by the end of July.
Great.
So.
Okay, so you guys got that in pretty quickly. And I'm sure it sounded like designing the headstone was really special too, like finding the butterflies and everything.
Yeah.
That's great. She is buried. You were talking about this between our episodes. You were mentioning that she is buried in a little section where other children are buried. Is that right?
Yeah.
Other babies and children are buried. And I think that is really those are special places. Those are sacred places, I think. So. Lastly, do you have a piece of advice that you would like to share with anybody that is going through this or something you want to share about Charley?
I think for me, it's been really helpful to just be open about it. If you're having a crappy day, just tell people like it is and don't try and push it away and don't pretend like you're happy if you're not.
Yeah.
Just talking about Charley has probably been the most helpful thing. And we try to bring her up with our families and to make sure so that they have the opportunity to talk about her and so that they feel comfortable talking about her and know that we're okay talking about her.
Yeah.
So, and we've had that conversation
with them as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's been really helpful because we're still able to remember her with our family members.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. Kind of an open invitation. I think that's really nice. Thank you, Sydney, once again. This was enlightening and really cool. Like, thank you for sharing Charley with us.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. A huge thank you to Sydney for showing her heart about her sweet Charley and her insights that she's gained about how grief has no timeline. Thank you. It was so beautiful. Head over to our website, stillapartofus.com, where you can find the show notes, including a full transcript of this interview and any resources that were mentioned, where you can sign up for our short and helpful email newsletter, where you can find out how to become a patron and support the work it takes to produce this show for just a few dollars a month. And lastly, where you can find out how to get in touch with us if you want to share your child's story on the show. One thing that is a little new is that you can go to the show notes in your podcast player and find a link on how to donate a few bucks to help us continue bringing these beautiful stories to you. The show was produced and edited by Winter and Lee Red. Thanks to Josh Woodward for letting us use his song, Vanishing Note. You can find him at joshwoodward.com. Lastly, subscribe to this podcast and share it with a friend that might need it, and tell them to subscribe. Why? Because people need to know that even though our babies are no longer with us, they're still a part of us.
The cure for boredom is curiosity. There is no cure for curiosity. Dorothy Parker.